All right, everyone. Good afternoon. Welcome to Talk with Anand on episode number 26. If you're joining us live right now, welcome on board. Just a reminder, we are live on YouTube and Twitter at the same time. If you are watching from YouTube, reminder our YouTube live chat is open. AS Vlog. We have a guest tonight or this afternoon. You can ask him questions or me questions. We will get to that in just a moment. Our Twitter is also open. If you want to tag me or comment under the post where we are live, you can do that as well. But we are joining you live from Calgary this afternoon to talk about the Calgary Flames. Once again, I said we'll have a guest soon, but it's starting to get a little chilly and cold here in Calgary. It's -8 right now. It was snowing when I was on my way home. So sorry for the delay in getting the live show started. But we are going to have a banger one. Once again, invite your friends and people who want to watch. We are live with a special guest this afternoon, and I want to thank him for his time. And that's going to be Robert Munich. He's going to join us from Flames Nation. He's a social media contributor for the Flames Nation as well as a writer and very known in the Flames community as well. He provides all those fun media clips and highlights for us to watch, and his detailed post game thoughts as well. So, Robert, welcome to the show. First of all, one quick question for you. I know you're in Calgary. Are you enjoying this weather and the cold snap we had a couple days ago?
So actually, and I'm actually in
Oh,
Vancouver. I actually live in Vancouver.
oh, you live in.
Um, all
Gotcha.
my family is in Calgary, and I was just in Calgary over the holidays. And the day I left Calgary was the day that it went to like -30. So I got back to Vancouver just in time to miss all the cold weather. So I haven't experienced it like you guys, but yeah, it's great to be on your show today, and I appreciate you having me on.
Yeah, I heard Vancouver got a bit of snow as well. Is that in your area? How has it been there?
Yeah, well, I mean, if one snowdrop or snowflake falls on the roads in Vancouver, people freak out and they don't know how to drive anymore. So lots of other people are struggling with it, but like I grew up in the prairies, so I don't think it's bad at all. But the people here are freaking out, of course. And we're supposed to get another dump here over the next day or two, so that should be some more fun for people here.
All right, yeah, I appreciate for joining us. We just got a fresh dump of snowfall, like I said, on my way home from classes. So it is getting a little scary out there for Calgary. So Calgarians drive safe, and Rob, hope you can stay warm and safe in Vancouver as well. All right, we'll get started on our flame talk right away. If you're joining us live, once again, feel free to share it to anybody who, if you're watching, we are live on YouTube and Twitter. So Robert will get into right away. Flames got a bit of a news a couple hours ago, and that's the call up of Dustin Wolf because Jacob Marshram is on a day-to-day basis with a lower body injury. Let's start with a question right away for you. How have you enjoyed Wolves' game so far, whether it's in the AHL Wranglers or whether it be in Flames? What is your thoughts on Wolf and Jacob Marshram overall?
Well, I think Wolf's having another phenomenal season in the American Hockey League. I was fortunate enough to go to a couple Wranglers games over the Christmas break there, and got to see Dustin Wolf play, and he was outstanding. I saw him against the Henderson Silver Knights, made a couple incredible saves. I believe got the shutout. Really, really impressive. So he's been great again. I do think that Wolf deserves some more NHL time. Like in my opinion, when a guy like Markstrom goes down or Vladar goes down, and you have the opportunity to bring Dustin Wolf up to the NHL, I think we need to see more of him. I think we need to see what he's got. And like I know on Barn Burner, Rhett Warner keeps asking for that. Or Warner keeps saying like you need to find out what you have in Dustin Wolf moving forward, because if he is this elite goalie that you can build around, then half of your struggles through the rebuild are going to be gone. So I've really liked Wolf in the AHL. In the NHL, I think he's only playing 3 games this year, and he's been like good. He's been fine. He hasn't like stole a game or anything like that, and he hasn't been terrible either. But I mean, those are his first 3 games in the NHL. I don't think he can expect too much. So I'm really hoping that Wolf can at least get one game, maybe on Thursday, when the Toronto Maple Leafs come to town. I would like to see him play then. But yeah, it's always exciting to see Dustin Wolf up. I think the fans are pumped to see him come up as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so one of the recent games that I saw with Dustin Wolf in the NHL was the game against Minnesota Wild when he got substituted instead of Dan Vladar after a poor start. I believe it was a couple weeks ago when Flames actually lost 5-2 against Minnesota Wild. Even though the Flames were three down, the fans were excited to see Dustin Wolf get in and replace Dan Vladar. So, like you said, Robert, it's going to be exciting for Dustin Wolf to start. Maybe, hopefully, in the next couple of games, he'll get the start. But I just want to welcome Noah as well to the chat. Noah, welcome. And yeah, so we have a pre-game show tonight, and that's going to be against the Arizona Coyotes. We won against Arizona Coyotes few nights ago during the Dart Strip 6-2. We got a Sharangovich hat trick. So we'll talk about Sharangovich a little bit. How have you liked his game so far?
Yeah, I think he's been really solid. Obviously got off to a bit of a rough start the first month of the season. I think he was just kind of getting used to the city of Calgary. I think he was getting used to being a member of the Calgary Flames, getting used to new teammates. I don't believe he'd played with anybody on the team prior to coming to Calgary, so that's pretty hard for, especially for somebody that doesn't speak English with their as their first language. It can be difficult going into a new situation like that, and I think that's kind of what we saw with Sharon Govich. But ever since I would say probably the middle of November or the beginning of December, he's probably been one of the Flames' more consistent forwards. And, you're starting to see that skill come through. Like you mentioned on Thursday, the goals that he was scoring against the Coyotes were beautiful. Like those were amazing goals he was scoring. And you're starting to see that skill come through. So, it's interesting with him though. I mean, his like underlying numbers and his analytics aren't very good, but when you watch him, you usually come away pretty impressed. So I'm a fan of his. I think he's been a really good fit in the Flames, and that Toffoli Sharon Govich trade just keeps looking better and better every day.
Yeah, definitely. I think I read somewhere or heard somewhere that Sharangovich has now more goals than Tyler Toffoli. So definitely, even though people were saying the trade at the beginning wasn't so great, we could have gotten more. But I think Craig Conroy has proven his worthy, and he has done a good job in the trade. We'll talk about a bit of trade chatter coming later in the show as well. But just want to welcome Papa Mitch, Flames fan as well. He says Markey and Wolf is going to be a hell of a tandem next year. We'll talk about that a little bit more. But we have a now 6 game homestand coming up for the Flames. We are playing Arizona Coyotes tonight. In a couple of days' time, we are playing the Toronto Maple Leafs. Then we are playing the Edmonton Oilers, Battle of Alberta. Um, an exciting week ahead for the Flames. What are your thoughts and predictions?
So I think this is a really interesting homestand because you have tough games against the Maple Leafs and the Oilers. I think it's going to be pretty difficult for the Flames to come away with 2 points in both those games. But the other 4 games, like you just mentioned, so you have the Coyotes tonight, who they just destroyed last week, St. Louis, who's not a great team, Columbus, and Chicago. So, I mean, out of those 4 games, I think you need to win at least 3 of those, maybe even all 4 if you want to stay in the playoff picture. Because, like I said, I think Toronto and Edmonton, those are going to be some tough games. So, I think on this homestand, I think you're going to want to win at least 4 of these 6 games. Like I said, if you want to stay in that playoff mix, and I think it's very doable. And then if you can get any points against Toronto or Edmonton, I think it's just an added bonus. So, it's going to be a fun homestand here, and Johnny's going to come back for a second time, which is it's always going to be fun to see the fans boo him, and so yeah, it's going to be great. I don't. What are you looking forward to in this upcoming homestand?
Yeah, so I am actually going to the game on Saturday against Edmonton Oilers. So I'm
Nice.
looking forward to a Flames win, obviously. But I know there are half of the fans here who want Flames to lose, but at the same time want the Flames to win as well. I always, because I'm a newer hockey fan, I have been I have been following the Flames only little more than a year. Over, maybe you know that, Robert. But yeah, I'm definitely always rooting for a Flames fan. Flames win, Flames everything. So yeah, I'm looking forward to the game on Saturday. Toronto Maple Leafs. I know it can be a tough challenge, and then yeah, we have an interesting road trip. Hopefully, we can destroy the Arizona Coyotes again this evening, and yeah, a lot more exciting thoughts. So Blue Jackets, Blackhawks. Hopefully, I don't know if Connor Bedard is ready yet to play with the Blackhawks. I know he was on the ice doing some solo practice yesterday or something. So it will be interesting to see if he's gonna be back in the lineup, and then yeah, so that's going to be our 6 game homestand. So we'll see what to watch. All right, my next topic for you, Robert, is players to watch. Players who you have liked and disliked over this film season. We are almost halfway done and we are progressing here and there. So just a little overall recap of the season. Which players have you liked, and which haven't you liked so much and can improve?
So I guess yeah, we'll start with the positive. I know Blake Coleman. Everybody in Calgary is talking about Blake Coleman's year, but it's warranted because he's been so good. So, in his last 18 games, he has 23 points. So he's over a point per game, which is pretty remarkable. And Darren Haynes put out a tweet, and he said, as of Saturday, the only players in the NHL with more points than Blake Coleman from December 7th until now were Nathan McKinnon, William Nylander, Nikita Kucherov, Sebastian Aho, and Connor McDavid. So in that time, a little over a month, Blake Coleman is 6th in the NHL in scoring, which is absolutely insane. I don't think anybody saw that coming. I believe Coleman, he is since November 1st, he has 34 points in 34 games. He's a plus 23, which is 10 like plus minus points better than the next Flame, and he's tied for 5th in the NHL in that category. I was looking, I believe, in the top 18 of plus minus, they're all Vancouver Canucks, Winnipeg Jets, Pittsburgh Penguins, I believe Florida Panthers. The only player who's not playing on one of those teams in the top 18 and plus minus in the NHL is Blake Coleman, which I think is pretty incredible. So I think he's just been probably the Flames' best skater, and I would argue team MVP. I don't think anybody saw this type of offensive output coming from him, but it's been fantastic, and they've needed it because a guy like Jonathan Huberdeau and Elias Lindholm really haven't stepped up and been the point producers that the Flames need them to be. So to have a guy like Coleman step up and be that guy has been huge for the team. So that's one guy who I've really enjoyed watching this year. Maybe you go. Who's been a positive for you?
Positive for me. Blake Coleman obviously stands in that, but I want to give a credit to Michael Backlund as well, our captain Michael Backlund. Uh, Even though he hasn't scored as much as we need to, like he doesn't get on the score sheet as much often. I like how he produces us for us, especially on our power kill, what our sportsnet crew likes to call it, the power kill. When we are on the penalty, we kill the penalty, score those short-handed goals. So I would say Michael Backlund has been a real positive for the team. His captaincy, leadership, and how he kills the penalty and produces those short-handed goals.
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't agree more with you. And the crazy thing is that he's still doing it at this age. I mean, most guys in the NHL, once they hit that kind of 33, 34-year-old range, their play starts to decline quite a bit. But we've seen kind of the opposite with Michael Backlund. I believe he's either 35 or 36 right now, and he's playing just as well now as he has been the last like 5 or 6 years in the league, which is extremely impressive. And like you said, he gets all the toughest defensive matchups. He plays on the penalty kill, doesn't get much power play time, but like he's so consistent. He's one of the most consistent players on the whole team, and it's been really impressive. A couple other guys we'll just shout out is I think Connor Zary has almost turned the season around for the Calgary Flames. It seems like right when they called him up, there was just something different about the team. Like I remember his first game, I believe it was against the Dallas Stars. He scores a goal. I think it's in his second shift. A few shifts later, he goes end to end on one of like the most beautiful rushes that you're going to see, and beautiful individual efforts. And we haven't seen that type of skill since Johnny Gaudreau in Calgary. And it just brought this whole new kind of life and energy to the fan base and to the team itself. And he's been excellent. Since November 1st, he has 22 points in 33 games, which is very strong for a rookie in the NHL. Not many guys can produce like that. And so yeah, I think Zari's been fantastic. And then um, you know, with Zari's impressive play has kind of come the rejuvenation of Nazem Kadri, who has 32 points in his last 34 games, almost a point per game player since Zari's been put on his line, and they've been a fixture together. So those two players have really been carrying the offense for the Flames and have brought some new energy to the team as well.
Yeah, and one honorable mention as well, Martin Pospisil. I've been liking his game too. And if he doesn't get on the score sheet with goals, he at least does the hard hit checks and gets on defensively as well. I've seen few of his hits, so which is remarkable. Him stepping up for the team, so that's wonderful.
Yeah,
All
and
right.
like
Yeah.
I would say like Martin Pospisil, he's become a fan favorite in Calgary. I think people love this guy, and that was actually one of my big takeaways from Saturday's game in Vegas. Was like I know Jacob Markstrom was great, but to me, one of the stories to emerge from that game was Martin Pospisil. Like he was making so many nice plays, like great passes. He was pissing off every single person on the Golden Knights. Like he was in scrums, he was getting in physical play. You know, he was hitting on the forecheck. Like he is a really interesting player that there's not many Martin Pospasils out there anymore in the NHL. So I'm with you, Adnan. I've been a huge fan of his, and it's been probably one the biggest surprise of the season. I did not think Pospisil was going to make this big an impact this year.
Yeah, definitely. The AHL rookies that we have called up, so Connor Zary, Martin Pospisil, have been great. Nick DeSimone, Dennis Gilbert, um, all of those rookies have been outstanding. Jordan Australia, he was a bit outstanding towards at the beginning, but he's been slightly declining. I want to say over the past couple of games, I haven't seen much of him. He hasn't made anything remarkable, but I'm glad he's still playing. All right, now players. So we talked about the positive. Now let's talk about where who can improve in the season, and what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, you know what? I would say since kind of November 1st or halfway through November, the majority of the Calgary Flames have been playing kind of at expectations or above expectations for the most part. I mean, I would say probably 80% of the roster has been really good in that time. So there's only a few players who I think you could probably talk about in a negative light. One of them, I mean, I'll start with Jonathan Huberdeau. I mean, I know he has 8 points in his last 8 games, and it looks like he might be starting to turn it around. But I mean, we've seen this story with Huberdeau multiple times dating back to last year. He'll go through this 5 to 8 game run where, he produces some points and it looks like he's starting to get his mojo back. But then all of a sudden, over the next 10 games, he has a point or two. So, I really want to see Jonathan Huberdeau be this point per game guy for a 20 game run or a 30 game run, even all the way till the rest of the season. Like let's see him be this point producer on a more consistent basis before we say Jonathan Huberdeau's back and everything's fine with him, because I don't think everything is fine until we see that more from him. um One guy I'd like to bring up is Adam Ruzicka, and then I'd like to get your opinion on it too. I just think Adam Ruzicka's time with the Flames is kind of coming to an end. I think the Flames have given him every opportunity to step up and show that he's an NHL player, and I just haven't really seen it from him this season. We had that one little 15 game stretch last year where I think he was like a point per game, but outside of that in his NHL career, he's been very inconsistent and not very noticeable. He's not overly physical. He's not overly fast. He's not that offensive. It's just like I just don't really know what he's bringing to the table. So I think pretty soon, like once Pelche and Rooney and guys like that come back, I think you're going to see Adam Ruzicka as kind of the odd man out and maybe even traded or put on waivers. I don't see him as a Calgary Flame long term. So that's been kind of a negative for me. Like, would you see it the same way? What are your thoughts on Ruzicka? Not to put you on
Yeah,
the spot. Sorry if I
yeah,
am.
No, no, no. I was going to bring up between either Rushitska or Dubé, both of them, on their performance. Yeah, definitely Rushitska. I believe he was performing last season way better than right now. Right now, he has only 3 goals this season and put up 9 points over the 36 games he has played. So definitely looking forward to Pelchier's return. As he said, we'll talk about that a little bit soon. But yeah, Pelchier return. Hopefully that can spark something. And yeah, I haven't seen much of Rashidska and Dubé, to be honest with you. They need to be contributing offensively, especially that fourth line with AJ Greer. Even though he's been getting minimalized time, he's been contributing well. AJ Greer, and yeah, that's the only fourth line impact. And especially on a team, if you need your fourth line to be the best with minimalized, and they need to be contributing. And I don't see that from Rashidska and Dubis. So it's kind of not worth it. It's our first or second or even third line that's improving right now.
Mhm.
Fourth line needs a bit of a work, and we don't know who we can put on that role yet. Possibly Pelche is the answer, like you said, but yeah, we'll have to see. And I agree with you. Yeah, they haven't been doing much either, so it will be interesting.
Yeah, and like I was thinking about over the last like week or two here. I'm almost wondering if a smart idea, because like it seems like recently the fourth line has really struggled on the Flames. It seems like most nights they're like clearly their worst line, and not contributing in a positive way. In order to get that line going, like would it be smart to maybe move Martin Pospisil there and give that line kind of that jolt of energy, maybe give them an identity, brings a little more physicality to the fourth line, get them more involved in the play, because that's kind of what Martin Pospisil does. And then maybe you could bring up a Coronado to play with Kadri and Zeri, or maybe you can move up Dylan Dubé to try and get him going, because the fourth line is not the place for Dylan Dubé to be playing. I mean, we're seeing it this year. He's clearly struggling mightily, and to me, like he's a player that needs to shoot. He's a player that needs to play with good players, and maybe playing with like a Zeri and Kadri gets him going. I wonder if there's maybe a way there to kind of get the fourth line going and get those players going a little bit more. Maybe moving Pospisil down there might do that.
Yeah, I have. So I've seen mixed reactions within the Flames fan base of bringing Coronato right now, because he's been doing so well in the AHL, and they don't have a role yet for him because he may not suit in the fourth line.
Mm-hmm.
So we don't know when to bring Coronato yet. Talking about the fourth line, I have one more player that I want to say maybe a little bit of negative light, and that's Walker Doher. He hasn't performing that well either when we are talking about. Especially this season, last season he was fantastic, but I think his play has dropped off. So yeah, definitely the fourth line has been struggling. That's where Rushitska, Dubé, and Duher line up right now. So we'll have to see. Do you think, perhaps, sorry to put if I put you on the spot here, but maybe Duher, if we send him down to the AHL and then try some shifting around that way. Do you think something will work like that?
Yeah, I think that day is probably going to come here pretty soon when we see Walker Duehr on waivers, and I don't think he's going to get picked up. I don't see it. And it sucks to talk about Duehr like that, because last year he was such a good story. I mean, last year was a miserable season for Calgary Flames fans, and Walker Duehr was one of like the kind of the shining lights or the positive storylines, and unfortunately, it just hasn't worked this year. But I think what we saw last year was Walker Duehr kind of catching lightning in a bottle a bit. Like if you go back and look at his like entire hockey career, even dating back to junior, he's never been a scorer. Like he's never been a point per game guy. Like most guys in the NHL when they were younger were like the best players on their teams. And Walker Duehr was never really the case for him. So I think, that pace that he was on last year and that kind of expectation he set was a little unrealistic. I think what we're seeing this year from him is probably a little more like the Walker Doer that you're going to see long term. Like he's not a flashy guy. He's not going to score a ton of goals. He's not going to set guys up a ton. But what he can do is play with speed and play with energy and be physical. Play on the penalty kill. He can do all those things well. But I don't think he's much of a scorer. And like you said, I mean, I expect him to probably go on waivers when Pelche, Rooney, and you know later on this season, it wouldn't surprise me to see Coronado come back up. It wouldn't surprise me to see Adam Klapka get an opportunity or Emilio Pedersen get an opportunity. Like I think those guys deserve to see, what they have at the NHL level, because I think we already know Walker Duehr is at the NHL level, and that's kind of a fourth liner, number 12, number 13, kind of number 14 forward. He's just not the guy he was last year, unfortunately.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. Maybe the after the All Star game will be the answer to see what changes we will see. All right, let's talk about All Star now. Elias Lindholm was the pick from the NHL management, and then this week, yesterday actually, Coleman got picked, so he's the second pick for the. Let's talk about that. What are your thoughts on the pick of Elias Lindholm? Could somebody else have gotten a better pick? And the second pick is Blake Coleman. Obviously, we fans wanted that, but if you had the chance, I'll ask you first: who would you have picked, and would you have had a better option?
Yeah, I think there are better options this year for sure. Like, I mean, last I checked, Elias Lindholm was on pace to score around 15 goals this year. So if your all-star representative is a forward who's on pace to score 15 goals, I don't think that's a great look. But I mean, a Lindholm, dating back to when the Flames acquired him in 2018, has been a really good forward, and he's had multiple 30-goal seasons, and when he was playing with Johnny Gaudreau was a sniper and was an excellent forward, but unfortunately, that's not really the player he is today. And I do think there were more deserving guys. Like I would say Jacob Markstrom probably should have been number one on that list. He's kind of got that name brand, like he's got that recognition around the NHL of being like an all-star type goalie. So I think Markstrom would have been a good choice. I think Mackenzie Weegar could have been a good choice. I mean, he's got a great personality. He's scoring lots of goals this year. I think he could have been a decent fit there. Even Nazem Kadri as well. I mentioned he had 32 points in his last 34 games. The All-Star games in Toronto, where he's from. He used to play for the Leafs. There's kind of some storylines there. So and I know Blake Coleman, in terms of just like his performance, is probably the guy who deserves to go the most. But like the All-Star game is all about, like, it's all about branding, it's all about star players. And Blake Coleman, for as good as he's been this year, he's not a star player around the NHL, whereas a guy like Markstrom or a guy like Kadri are kind of more of those, big names across the league. And I think those guys probably would have been good choices. I think those have been my top two, probably Markstrom and Kadri. How about you?
Marshall and Kadri. Yeah, I was thinking. Yeah, definitely Jacob Marshall on how he has been with goaltending. His rebound after the 2 weeks finger injury he had, he's been fantastic. My other pick, just because how I've heard the all Star works, and with the skills and all, I would have possibly maybe sent Backlund too. Just how, because he's a captain, he could learn those skills, bring back valuable lessons for the team and share it. That would have been a great opportunity too. But I like your picks as well. Kadri was a last year's All Star for the Flames, so he would have been a great pick. But yeah, yeah, definitely. Uh, Elias Lindholm, he that would have been better picks, but like you said, it's for the branding and the all star. So wishing Lindholm all the best, and Blake Coleman if he goes as well. So wishing both of them all the best. All right, let's talk about a couple more things before we wrap up the show. First of all, is the return player. So we have possibly maybe Oliver Shillington uh, can possibly return back to the Flames. And then we have Jacob Peltier, we have Rooney. Which of those are you excited about, those returns we are going to get? And how are your thoughts on them?
Yeah, I think when it comes to Shillington, I think you have to be kind of cautiously optimistic when it comes to him, just because he's been through so much. And I say, do not rush things with him. Let him kind of do it at his own pace. And if he is able to come up and play in the NHL this season, that would be incredible and probably the best storyline of the whole season for the Calgary Flames. And that would be awesome. Jacob Pelche is another one I'd be quite excited about. Um, just because like like last year he brought so much energy to the team and positivity and he didn't light up the score sheet by any stretch, but I did find that he made an impact on a lot of games just with his speed. He was pretty physical, like tenacious, and was making some plays. So I'd be really excited about him. Yeah, I'll be totally honest. I'm not I'm not getting too excited about a guy like Kevin Rooney. Just based on what we saw last year and his time in New York. I mean, at best, he is a fourth line center. There's really not much more to his game than that. So I'm not overly excited about Rooney. However, Pelche and Shillington, if those two guys can get back in the lineup here, by the end of the season, I think that'll be a huge boost for the Flames. Especially when sorry, I just lost my train of thought there. I got a text message. But yeah, I'd be excited to see those two guys.
All right, and one more important question, and then I'll get to you an like a fun question to wrap up the show. But my first important question: between Lindholm, Chris Tanev, and Noah Hannafin, those unrestricted free agents coming up soon in the March 8 deadline, who would you see likely to be traded first? And what are your reasons? Any thoughts on trade possibilities coming up?
Yeah, I don't really know who's going to get traded first. I'm not totally sure on that one. I mean, it could be any of those guys. It could even be somebody that we're not talking about. I mean, we don't really know. Um, I do think Lindholm is essentially like a guarantee to get moved. Like there's lots of discussion about like, should they sign Tanev or should they sign Hannafin? You're not really hearing that this year about Elias Lindholm. So it does sound like he's definitely going to be traded, which I do think is a good thing for the long term health of the Calgary Flames. And I think they could get a pretty solid return. Like that could feature like a first round pick. Um, no, I wouldn't say like a top prospect, but a good prospect, and then maybe an NHL player as well to make the money work. So I guess to answer your question, I'll say Elias Lindholm probably gets moved first, and I think that could probably happen pretty quickly after the All Star game, and then from there on, I mean, who knows? I mean, I've heard on some speculation from like some Flames writers and people on Fan 960 that like Craig Conroy is open for business. Like he's not afraid to make moves. So I'm gonna be interested to see if there's anyone outside of Tanev, Hannafin, or Lindholm that gets moved. Someone like a Dubé or Vladar, Mangiapane. Kind of people like that. It's gonna be really interesting to see.
All right, good to know. All right, one final question for you. It's a fun one. I like to do this with any guest that come on my show. Is score predictions for the next 3 games we have this week. So,
Okay.
score predictions for today against Arizona Coyotes. Score prediction against Flames on Thursday, and Saturday Edmonton Oilers. So, Flames fans, get ready. If you're watching live right now, pop your predictions in the YouTube live chat. But I'll give Robert a moment to think. Score predictions for the next 3 games. We have a fun 6 game homestand, but we'll do for this week. So we'll start with you, Robert, first. Score prediction for tonight against the Coyotes.
So, I was thinking about it tonight. I mean, the Flames really destroyed the Coyotes on Thursday, and the Coyotes were pretty upset. Like, I don't know if you saw some of like their coaches interview and like some of the players' interviews after the game. Like, they were embarrassed by that loss to the Flames. So I think they're going to come out pretty hard tonight. But I like the way the Flames are playing, so I'll say it's a close game. I'll go 3-2 Flames, and they win in overtime.
3-2 Flames win in overtime. All right. Yeah, so from the past game, I want to say it's gonna be. I'm gonna take a different twist. I'm gonna say it's gonna be a high scoring game, and I'm gonna say a 5-3 win for Flames in regular time tonight.
Nice. I like
All
that.
right, let's go next game. It's gonna be Leafs on Thursday. That's gonna be an interesting one. We know how Leafs have been performing. I think 2 nights ago they blew a lead when they had Detroit Red Wings when they were playing against the Detroit Red Wings. So let's hear your predictions first, Robert.
So I think they're gonna have a hard time kind of containing the Leafs' firepower, especially if Dan Vladar is playing in net. So I'll say they're gonna lose that one. I'll go. They'll drop that one 4-2. So they'll lose 4-2 to the Maple Leafs.
So Flames lose 4-2. So Maple Leafs win 4-2. Okay. I would say because I really want to see an win win for the Flames against Edmonton Oilers. So I'm gonna say if I'll be okay if they drop against the Maple Leafs just to not to be too overconfident. So I'll go along the lines maybe um 3-2 loss for the Flames and shootout.
Okay.
So 3-2. So Leafs take a 3-2 win against Flames in shootout. And the final game of this week, Edmonton Oilers. I'm gonna be there at the Dome, so catch my action live. I'll post pictures and score updates live for you on my Twitter, social media. But your prediction for the Oilers game, Robert?
That's what I'm pumped about. I'm very excited for this game, and let's say Calgary wins. I think it's gonna be once again. I think it's gonna be a tight game. Let's go. Calgary wins 4-3, and they get the victory with you in attendance.
Alright. Yeah, so I'll with me in attendance, I'll give you a short recap. I keep track of the games I attend at the Dome. So last season, I went for a total of 5 games. That's when I started following the Flames closely last season, the 2022 to 2023. That one I have attended 5 games in total. My first one was October 25th against the Penguins. So that season altogether, I won 5-0-0. So all of them were Flames wins.
Nice.
This season has not been so great. I started off the preseason that was against the Edmonton Oilers when they predominantly had an AHL team. That one we lost in overtime. Flames lost in overtime against the Oilers. Then the two was Minnesota Wild when they lost 5-2, and then Seattle Kraken when we lost 2-1 against Seattle Kraken. So this season I'm a 0-2-1 statistic, my fourth game this season. So I really want Flames win again in the Dome. So I'm gonna say a 5-2 win for the Flames.
Nice. That would be awesome. I want to see them beat Edmonton so bad, especially because Edmonton's playing so well this year, and there's lots of crazy stuff going on around Calgary. It would be great for them to beat Edmonton 5-2. I like that.
Yeah, I hope so too. Looking forward to the game. I can't wait for Thursday, sorry, Saturday to come so soon. But obviously, we have two other games to get through before that. All right, final thoughts from you, Robert, around the Flames season in general. What are your final recapping thoughts? And where can our Flames fans find you for your content and all that?
Yeah, I mean it's been an interesting season. Like you said, there's that kind of group of fans that want to see them lose. There's a group of fans that want to see them win. I'm kind of somewhere in the middle there because I'd like to see them make some trades between now and the deadline, but I also don't want to see them completely tank because it sucks. It's not fun to watch, and I run the Flames Nation social media account, so like I have to watch every single game, and I still want them to be entertaining and I want them to be fun, but at the same time, I still also want them to build for the future. So yeah, between now and the deadline, it's going to be super interesting. And I honestly can't wait for the trade deadline. I think it's just going to be absolutely fascinating to see what Craig Conroy does with this team. So I'm definitely looking forward to that. And then in terms of social media, where you can find me on Twitter at Ring of Fire CGY. And then also be sure to follow Flames Nation on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok. We're doing lots of fun stuff at Flames Nation right now. So be sure to follow along with that as well. I'd appreciate that.
Yeah, I watch the bun burner shows often, either if it's pre-game or post-game or on the day, and those shows are fun. I actually met one of the Flames Nation person as well, Mark Bain. I don't know if you know him or met him, but he works with the Nation Network. I was working at the Circle K Classic tournament, so he was a great guy too. So yeah,
Nice.
everybody check out Flames Nation. They're a fantastic crew to bring you coverage for Flames pre-game, post-game, and in between as well. They do fun posts and stuff around social media. All right, thank you so much, Robert, for your time this afternoon, for joining me on Talk with Anand, episode 26. It's been fun chatting with you all about Flames hockey. So Flames fans, don't forget we have a game tonight at 7 p.m. at Saddle Dome. Flames open a six-game homestand with the Arizona Coyotes. Last time we destroyed Arizona Coyotes 6-2 back at Arizona. So we'll see what happens tonight. Robert, once again, thanks so much for joining me. Have a great afternoon. Stay warm, stay safe, and we'll talk to you again soon.
Thank you. Thank you.